Today I'm going to be talking about performing function operations. This is chapter 6, section 5. So let's read this first one. It says, find f plus g of x and f minus g of x and state the domain of each. Then evaluate f plus g and f minus g for the given value of x. So we're just going to perform these operations that it asks. So for the first one, we're going to do f plus g of x. So we're going to take 3 square roots of x, which is the f of x. We're going to add it to the g of x, which is a negative 10 square roots of x. We're going to simplify, and we get a negative 7 square roots of x. Now we're going to evaluate the domain. We're going to figure out what that domain is. Well, what we have to ask ourselves is, what can't x be? Well, we know that x cannot be a negative number. So for the domain for this, it is going to be x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Next, we're going to evaluate f plus g of 4. So we're going to plug that in. We have a negative 7 square root of 4, which gives us negative 7 square root, or negative 7 times 2. And that gives us negative 14. So those are our answers right there. All right, now we're going to do f minus g of x. So we're going to take 3 square roots of x minus a negative 10 square roots of x. We're going to simplify, and we get 13 square roots of x. Our domain is going to be x is greater than or equal to 0, because it cannot be a negative. And then we're going to evaluate f minus g of 4. So 13 square roots of 4, 13 times 2, which is 26. We have those answers. So I'm going to show you another example. Okay, this next one, same thing. We're going to find f plus g of x and f minus g of x. We're going to state the domain of each and then evaluate for the given value of x. So let's do f plus g first. So we get 11x plus 2x squared plus negative 7x minus 3x squared plus 4. We can combine our like terms. And what we're going to get for that one is a negative x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now for the domain for this, we don't have any restrictions at all, so this one's going to be all real numbers. And then we're going to find f plus g of 2. So we're going to plug in 2 for everything. And we're going to get 8. Okay, let's do f minus g of x. So we have 11x plus 2x squared minus, now be careful, put this in parentheses, negative 7x minus 3x squared plus 4. Do not forget to distribute that negative to each one of those. So after we distribute to each one of those, we get 11x plus 2x squared plus 7x plus 3x squared minus 4. So be really careful in distributing that negative. Now we can combine like terms. And what we end up with is 5x squared plus 18x minus 4. A domain for this one is all real numbers. And then we're going to evaluate f minus g of 2. So we're going to plug in a 2 to everything. And what we get is 52. So that is our final answer. So that's when we subtract and add two functions. What we're going to do next is we're going to multiply and divide functions. So we're finding f times g of x and f divided by g of x. We're going to state the domain of each and then evaluate for the given value of x. So let's do f times g of x. So we're going to do 11x cubed times 7x to the 7/3. So we can multiply the 11 and the 7 and get 77, and then we add the exponents, and 3 plus 7/3 is going to be 16/3. Our domain for this one, now we have to be really careful because this one, if there's a 3 on the bottom of on the denominator, that means it's a cube root. And cube roots, it doesn't matter if there's a positive or a negative, since it's an odd root. If it was an even root, we would have to have only positive numbers. So for this one, we can have all real numbers. And then we evaluate the f of g times -8, which is going to be 77 times -8 to the 16/3. We can put this in our calculator, make sure it's correct, and we get 5,046,272 for that one. Okay. Our next one, we're going to divide. So f divided by g of x. And we get 11x cubed divided by 7x to the 7/3. So for this one, we are going to divide 11 divided by 7, and we subtract the exponent. So 3 minus a 7/3 is 2/3. All right, the domain for this one, and we have to be really careful because we have to look at two different things. First of all, the domain of the original, if we see in the denominator we have 7x to the 7/3. Well, we cannot have a 0 in the denominator, so a part of the domain is x cannot equal 0. We also have to look at the final answer, 11 over 7 x 2/3, and notice it's a cube root, so there's no restrictions there. So that one's just x cannot equal 0. And then lastly, f divided by g of -8. So we'll do 11 over 7 times -8 to the 2/3, which is going to give us 44 over 7. Let's do one more. We're multiplying and dividing again. So let's do f times g of x, which is 4x to the 5/4 times 2x to the 1/2. So 4 times 2 is going to be 8. And 5/4 plus 1/2 is going to be 7/4. Okay? The domain for this one, be really careful, since it is a fourth root, x has to be greater than or equal to 0, because I cannot have a negative number in there. And then for the f of g times 16, it will equal 8/16 to the 7/4, which will equal 1,024. All right, next up we have division, f divided by g times x. So we have 4x to the 5/4 divided by 2x to the 1/2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5/4 minus 1/2 is 3/4. The domain for this one, be really careful, x cannot equal 0, but our final answer is a fourth root, so it also has to be greater than 0. So it's x is greater than 0. It cannot equal it, just x is greater than 0. And then we're going to find the f of g of 16, which gives us 2 times 16 to the 3/4, which is going to equal 16.